Well, over the weekend, the state GOP executive committee voted to censure several Texas lawmakers. Renzo Downey, lead writer for the Texas Tribune's politics newsletter, The Blast, was in the room when the vote happened. You're joining us now to talk more about it. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
So first and foremost, walk us back through why some lawmakers were even up for possibly being censured.
Yeah, well, this has been a years-long process, but I think what really kicked this off was in 2023 when the Texas House voted to impeach Attorney General Ken Paxton. And there's a lot of backlash to that among members of the conservative grassroots. And so after that, they censured the speaker, Dade Phelan. And at that convention, the following convention in 2024, they created this rule where if you go against the party's platform, against the legislative priorities, they can attempt to kick you off the ballot. So that was the question that was, that was the big question this weekend, was whether they were going to kick anybody off the ballot. And they stopped short of that, but they did end up officially reprimanding some members with some lesser punishments.
We should talk about the list of people that they were thinking about reprimanding, right? And it included Speaker of the House Dustin Burrows, and largely because of how he became Speaker, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I mentioned the former Speaker, Dade Phelan, but the current Speaker is Dustin Burrows, as you mentioned. And when he came to power, he got together with a smaller group of Republicans and a majority of the Democrats. And that was something that the Texas GOP had been advocating against. They had their preferred candidate. And Burrows, as Speaker, also created a bit of a power-sharing agreement. It was just leaving the vice chairs of committees to Democrats. And that was sort of what the party had been asking for. They've been asking for no Democrats serving as committee chairs, but they felt like this vice chairmanship, power-sharing thing was still a step too far. So Dustin Burrows avoided the censure this weekend. It was a fairly close vote, but he did avoid that censure. And there were 10 total who were up for censure. 5 ended up getting censured.
2 of which we should note are not running for re-election, so that is an interesting. But I think there were a lot of eyes on this because of something you mentioned, which was this sort of nuclear option, if you will, that the party put in place to say that if you are censured, one of the punishments can be that you cannot run for office during a Republican primary for 2 years. People have argued this is unconstitutional. I think a lot of folks were kind of watching to see what would happen. I think a lot of people in the room weren't necessarily fans of going that far, right?
Yes. Yeah, this was something that the party's attorney had likened to the death penalty, banning you from the primary ballot for 2 years. And what ended up happening was there were a flurry of censures that happened, and I think some members of the governing board at the party felt like these censures weren't strong enough to take to court. And they're also trying to close the primaries, and they're suing the Secretary of State over that. So they didn't really want a two-front legal battle the next year here.
Yeah, who wants to have to pay for that, for sure. All right, Renzo, fascinating stuff. Thank you so much for catching us all up on it. Of course, you can find all of his articles and information on the Texas Tribune's website. Thank you again so much for your time.
Well, thank you.